I'm Ed Sumter.
And I'm Kristen Sumter, and we're the owners of Red's Beer Garden. I would say that Red's started probably 4 or 5 years ago, and Ed and I, we would be sitting on our porch outside drinking a beer, hanging out after work or on the weekends, and we would just be talking about why a place like Red's didn't exist in Atlanta. We're both from Wilmington, North Carolina, and there's a couple spots in the small town that kind of had our type of vibe that we have at Red's, and we really wanted that in Atlanta personally as customers to like go and hang out. And we both had good jobs and were happy, and I had always wanted a 9-to-5 with insurance and benefits, and Ed kept saying, well, why don't you just open it yourself? And finally one day I was like, okay, maybe I should.
I get all the time from customers that they love coming here because of the vibe, how relaxed and inviting it is. And really what Kristen and I did when we thought about what kind of customer experience we want for the people who come here is we want it to feel like a place that we would go hang out. No pressure, very inclusive, just focused on having a good time and being known and being seen. And I think our non-traditional business model and atmosphere kind of came from that desire, and people really like us.
And then I also think like the beer coolers are also very distinctive for Red's. Customers come in and then they can choose a beer on draft, but then they also have over 300 types of beer that they can choose from in bottles or cans. And that's something that we really took away from, growing up in Wilmington, having that type of atmosphere. But it really gives people the ability to select themselves, whether they want us to give them a recommendation and we talk about all that's in there, or they can just hang out. Sometimes people hang out for 10 or 15 minutes just looking at the options. And I think people enjoy that. It's kind of a different version of a menu. We try to make sure that we have and support a ton of local breweries. We are a local business. We use local hot dogs. We want to use as many local beers as possible. We love Atlanta. We love the beer scene in Atlanta, so we want to make sure that it thrives and continues to be as awesome as it is. So we bring in most of the breweries in Atlanta and Georgia. We have at least one of their beers, and then we also really love bringing in beers from different states and from across the world. So you can if you come in and all you drink is Miller Lite, we're gonna have that for you. But also if you know exactly which specific beer you like in Illinois, if we don't have it, we'll hopefully know what it is and be able to offer another recommendation too.
We were brainstorming and talking about what kind of food we could sell to be a restaurant, even though we weren't planning on being one. And we decided on hot dogs. And
who doesn't love a hot dog?
Yeah, it just made sense. Hot dogs, cold beer.
We wanted the simplicity, but then we quickly found out that customers wanted a little bit more. So we listened.
Yeah, we listened, and also I think we both just kind of ventured out there into restaurant world. I mean, it's great for coming to hang out. Sandwiches, hot dogs. We try and keep it open, options for everybody. We've got some vegan stuff. You can eat gluten-free here too. But yeah, I mean, it's basically a menu that's still growing and
yeah,
came from not knowing how to do anything.
We're really into making sure that, people get the experience of making memories with each other. And it just so happens that really good beer and some tasty food is involved, but the focus is on people forming those memories. And so to make sure that we're doing it in a tasty way is important.
We opened January 17th.
2020.
Yep. And I remember, it's funny, I remember very specifically, my mom came up, she lives in Macon, and she came up one of those first days that we were open, and I remember her casually mentioning like in passing, like, have you heard of this, like, the coronavirus in China? And I was like, yeah, seems wild.
And the COVID was just completely out of our minds.
No, it was
no, you don't think about, no. You're
Like,
thinking
yeah.
about the day to day.
And then fast forward to,
Yeah,
Plan.
so we were open for 2 months. We were planning St. Patrick's Day.
I remember, yeah, very specifically, we were planning St. Patrick's Day.
It was like our first event.
Yeah, it was our first as a restaurant and bar owners, like the first big day where people go out, do things and drink and eat, and so we were putting together what we wanted to do, and
Bought all this beer.
Kristen did such a great job. She got all of this Irish beer, all of these kegs, all of these beer cans and bottles. I had like 2 cases of these Irish sausages, and
I remember about 3 days before we made the decision, we had the laptop pulled up on the bar.
Yeah.
It was Ed and I and one of our employees, and we were just watching like the presidential address to the country, talking about what the nation was going to do with COVID. And I just remember like the 3 of us being at the bar and pretty much telling our employee, things are about to change, so we're going to keep you updated.
And then we got through St. Patrick's Day, sold almost none of that
0.
beer.
Actually, St. Patrick's Day was the day we decided to close.
Yeah, it was St.
17th.
Patrick's Day. People were starting to shelter in place a little bit more. We didn't have a lockdown in Georgia yet or a stay-at-home order yet, but other states had started stay-at-home orders, and more people were quarantining.
I think we were one of the first restaurants to say that we were closed.
Yeah, we were paying attention to what other people were doing,
Yeah,
and
you kind of got a
trying
vibe that it was going to.
yeah, we wanted to consider first and foremost our customers and our employees and their safety. We knew that there would be people who were going to stay open. We knew that there were people who were going to push the limits. And one thing we said right away was, if there is one case of COVID-19 because of us, we feel like that's too many, and we don't want to risk that.
Yeah, because we could have done takeout and like stuck to takeout and to go only, which is when we came back in May, 2 months later. That's what we started with. But during those 2 months where we were closed, even if you're only doing takeout or to go, you're still interacting with food distributors, with beer distributors, with people coming through the doors several times a week. And so we decided just to not do that at all. And we ended up selling a bunch of merchandise online. So we kind of ran like a merch store out of our house for a little bit. And people, whether it was family and friends that we knew or like customers who had been in just a couple times in the 2 months that we had been open, they bought a ton of merch. And it was honestly like, COVID sucks and COVID is awful, but COVID has also showed me that like the human spirit is still a beautiful thing, and that people are kind and people are thoughtful and people want to take care of their neighbors and of places that they love. It was awesome, and then we switched to selling beer and doing beer deliveries around town.
Yeah, people started asking if we were going to, like, if they could do beer to go or come get beer if we weren't selling food. And in Georgia, the mayor of Atlanta has allowed restaurants to sell alcohol, beer and wine specifically, to go, sort of like a package store. So we're still doing that currently. I think the hardest part about the process is we've really just been running things, just me and Kristen, which is tough sometimes. It's a lot of work, but I mean, we miss all of our employees. Not only that, but we hate not being able to do more for them or support them more.
I think coming back on since we've opened since COVID, and it's kind of just been Ed and I with like a few employees helping every now and then. It's almost like a crash course into running Reds, to whereas we have extremely limited budget. We've cut every single expense that we possibly can, and we have a great customer base. I feel like we are learning things that we would have learned in a year in just like a period of months because of the pandemic. And you've had to learn how to pivot. You've had to learn how to change plans instantly.
You've had to. We've
I
had
see a
to-
lot of like good things coming out of COVID, even though we're probably more stressed than we would have been.
Yeah. If you want to have a silver lining.
You got to.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I am closing down, which is both of us shutting down Reds and like doing things like taking out trash and sweeping and like very minimal tasks, like that's when you have time to actually think and like be grateful for everything that Reds is. And I really just feel like this is what we're supposed to be doing. And I usually in the night, whether it was a good day in sales or a bad day in sales, like pretty thankful and pretty set in knowing that like this is what we were supposed to do, this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now, and just super pumped that it's actually what we're doing.
Yeah, and I think for me it's just gratitude. It's a weird place to be in, to rely on like people to come and like your thing and pay for your thing, for you to keep doing your thing. But we love our customers and we love being here, and we couldn't do it without the people who come.